Okay guys, this is going to be the first module that we're going to do lecture on. It's going to be Module A, the Nurse Aid 1. Our objectives are going to be to describe the North Carolina Nurse Aid 1, describe resources available that outline range of function, explain requirements for initial listing and renewals on the Nurse Aid 1 registry, explain the Nurse Aid 1's role and delegation of tasks by the licensed nurse, and describe tasks performed by nurse aides. First, let's go over a couple of these words. The term delegation means somebody takes a task or a job that they need to do or get done, and they give that job to another person that also has that in their scope of practice, that can do that legally. And the role is going to be the RN or the LPN, if you're working under a licensed practical nurse, is going to delegate those tasks to you. Alright, some other objectives: compare basic nursing skills, personal care and interpersonal skills, describe important characteristics of a competent caring nurse aide, and explain the difference between an effective and an ineffective team. And I'm going to do the best I can to upload a copy of a worksheet for effective and ineffective teams, just so you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, so a Nurse Aid 1 is a valued, unlicensed member of the healthcare team. Nurse aides are not licensed like nurses are. You guys have certifications. Responsible for providing delegated nursing tasks within a defined range of function for patients, clients, residents, you can call them different things, in a variety of settings, and who is listed on the North Carolina Nurse Aid 1 registry. Okay, so the term OBRA, or Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, is a federal law enacted by the U.S. Congress in 1987 designed to improve quality of life for residents living in nursing homes. It defines requirements for nurse aid training and competency evaluation programs. So prior to 1987, there was really no set rules or regulations for who could work with residents in nursing homes. And so you may even still have people today that are working in healthcare, probably not, but could be, that were grandfathered in before OBRA. That's probably don't have anybody left there. But when I started teaching in 2007, that would have been, 20 years past OBRA. We still had a lot of people who were needing to take the class because they had been a CNA for 20 years or more, and they had never taken a class to be certified. And for a while, people were able to just kind of go with it. They were grandfathered in, as I said, but eventually everybody had to be certified, and there was an option to challenge the Nurse Aid 1 test there for several years. That option's been gone for, I'd say, close to 10 years now. And now you have to take a state-approved course, excuse me, in order to be eligible to take that exam. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Next slide, range of function for nurse aides. We find the range of function on the North Carolina Board of Nursing, their website, under their administrative code. Really, all you need to know about range of function for a nurse aide, that's going to be taught here in class. So every skill that we teach you is going to fulfill that requirement of helping you understand your range of function. That just means what you can legally do. Okay, Nurse Aid 1 Registry. The North Carolina Nurse Aid 1 Registry is a listing of all individuals who meet state and federal training and testing requirements to perform Nurse Aid 1 tasks in North Carolina. So their rules say that once you are certified, you are on the registry, you have to continue to work as a Nurse Aide 1 to keep yourself on the registry. You have to renew your registry listing every 2 years. Excuse me. Oh, I get sleepy sometimes. You have to renew that every 2 years, and you have to do that through work experience. You have to work in a facility as a Nurse Aide 1 under the supervision of a registered nurse, an RN. There has to be an RN employed in the facility, even if you don't work one-on-one with that RN. And you have to get paid for the job which you are doing. And that's it. That's all you got to do. You got to submit a form online, and you have to do it on a regular basis. You got to do it every 2 years. But again, we can talk about that a little bit more later on. The North Carolina Care Personnel Registry. This is a listing of unlicensed healthcare personnel who are being investigated for or have a substantial finding of neglect, abuse, misappropriation of property, that would be stealing something from somebody who lives in the facility, diversion of drugs belonging to a resident or the healthcare facility, fraud against a resident or healthcare facility. It's after lunch as I'm taping this, guys, and I'm sleepy. Okay. A Nurse Aide 1 listed on the Health Care Personnel Registry for any of the above infractions cannot work in a nursing home. So if you're being investigated or if it's been substantiated, you cannot work in a nursing home. You won't be hired. And there are some things that if you're found on the HCPR, that you'll never work in healthcare again. So just be careful. Okay, so people always want to know, how do I get my initial listing on the registry? Well, step 1 is what you're doing right now, taking a state-approved Nurse Aide 1 training program. And then the second part is passing the 2-part state competency exam. The first part is a written/oral exam. Really, it's on computer. And it is comprised of 70 questions, kind of like a final exam here in class. And from what I've heard, this particular test at the state level is easier than the final exam you'll take here in this class. Also, demonstration of 5 skills. 5 skills are going to always start with hand washing. One of your remaining 5 skills is going to be a measurement, like a blood pressure, pulse, respiration, weight, measuring urinary output. The other 3 are random, but we do have a list of the ones that the state has earmarked as possibilities. They're called competencies here in class, and on the day we do orientation, we went over those booklets and what that was comprised of. And just as I explained a minute ago, to stay current on the Nurse Aide 1 registry, you have to renew those listings through qualified work experience every 2 years or 24 months. A nurse aide who does not perform at least 8 hours of qualified work in this 24-month, listing period will be required to retake a state-approved nurse aide training program and retake and pass the written skills state competency test. Now, that state exam, the written and the skills exam combined, costs you $140 to take that test every time you take it. So if you have to retake part of the test, of course you don't have to pay for the part that you don't have to take. The computer portion, the written test, is $40 currently, and the computer the state exam, skills exam, is $100. So if you have to retake either one of those portions, if you don't pass it the first time, then you only have to pay for the parts you have to retake. But if you lose your certification and you have to retake the test, they're going to make you retake both parts. So pay very special attention to this. Okay, it used to be that they would send you a renewal form and you filled it out and then you mailed it back to the state. Now they don't do that anymore. It's an online listing renewal form. This is the website to where you find that. Again, there's no reminder sent that it needs to be done. So I would set a message on my calendar or somewhere that about 2 months before you need to renew, you need to go ahead and get started with that. Nurse aides and RNs each have a form to complete, sign, and submit online. So you'll have a form, you fill out your part, and then when you put in where your work experience is from, there'll also be a form sent to that employer. Now, I have had people in the past that contacted me and said, hey, I need some help. My employer won't sign my renewal. I can't help people with that. Okay? If your employer won't sign it, it's not ethical for them not to sign it if you did your 8 hours. But there's nothing that can be done if your employer doesn't want to sign it. This is saying submit your forms about 3 months prior to the date your listing expires. So I agree, 2 to 3 months. And again, they are not going to be sending out any paper forms. If your listing expires, you cannot work. And that is as of day 1 of your listing expiring. Now, here at Western Piedmont, we do have refresher classes for people whose certification has not lapsed more than 3 years. I don't do a whole lot of those because there's not a whole lot of people that qualify for that. But if you find in the future that you do need that, you can give me a call and I'll try to walk you through that process. It is your responsibility to keep up with your renewal. If you forget, you can always look it up. Okay, your certification on the NCNAR website, which is the website that I'm showing you actually right now. We'll talk about in just a minute where you can find this PowerPoint that I'm showing you now if you wanted to see it separate from me talking through it and explaining it. The first renewal date is the last day of the month that you passed both parts of the test. So if you tested in April, even if you tested on April 15th, you would be good through April 30th, 2 years in the future. Promptly report changes in your name or address to the Nurse Aid 1 registry. That's pretty important because if they can't get a hold of you, you don't have an excuse for them not being able to get a hold of you. So just be very careful of that. Okay, some of your job responsibilities would be basic nursing skills, personal care skills, and then interpersonal skills. Basic nursing skills, as the picture kind of depicts, would be your vital signs, pulse, respirations, blood pressure, making sure you know what your patient's pain level is. When you become a nurse aide, wherever you work, we'll teach you more about doing like oxygen saturations and things like that. Personal care skills, I always tell people that's what you do for yourself every day. You brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you take a bath or shower, get yourself dressed. And then interpersonal skills is how you interact with other people, how you make them feel comfortable, understood, important, things of that sort. Okay, tasks of the Nurse Aide 1 on the job. Licensed nurses use the Board of Nursing delegation process to assign duties and tasks to the Nurse Aide 1. This improves efficiency and shows trust by the nurse. The NA1 must be able to do this delegated task safely and accurately. So there are going to be some skills that I'm going to teach you here in class that you may not do it. You may not actually check it off hands-on in class, or you could go several years without doing it. An enema is a good example of that. And you may have to say to whoever's delegating that enema to you, hey, I know how to do an enema. I learned about that in class. That is in my scope, but I'm going to need somebody to go in with me and help me with that first enema. The Nurse Aide 1 performs tasks delegated by the nurse if competent, again, to perform those tasks. And it is up to you to let the nurse that's delegating those things to you, you need to let them know if you need some assistance. The nurse could go in with you, another CNA could go in with you, but ultimately it's up to you to let them know that you're not 100% up to the task of doing that independently. Basic nursing skills. Some examples would be taking and recording vital signs, caring for the resident's environment, recognizing changes in a resident and reporting to the nurse, caring for residents when death is imminent, and privacy, of course, is probably one of the most important things when we're doing basic nursing skills. We want them to have privacy. Now, sometimes people don't necessarily think about when they start into their healthcare journey that they're going to be taking care of people that are going to be dying, people that maybe are severely injured, and working in healthcare can be really stressful. So just understand that you're working with a team of healthcare providers, and your part is very important, getting those vital signs and being able to document and report that accurately. Some important responsibilities of the nurse aide would be following a plan of care from directives, from supervisors, reporting important findings, and documenting accurately are all very important to the well-being of your residents. Imagine if you have a patient that, like is depicted in this picture, they're having chest pain, they're not feeling real great. One of the things that the nurse is going to want to know is, what are their vital signs? What's their pain level? How are they describing their pain? What's their pulse? What's their respirations? And what's their blood pressure? So if the blood pressure or pulse, or really any information that you report back to the nurse, if it's not accurate, that is putting your patient's health at risk. So it's very important that we teach you how to properly report these things. Okay. Personal care skills. This is tasks dealing with the person's body appearance and hygiene. We are going to be doing a wide variety of things when it comes to personal care skills. We'll be washing people's hair, styling people's hair, shaving them, bathing them, dressing them, taking them to the bathroom. The list goes on and on. Feeding them. So I have had students in the past that kind of got to the part where we were doing personal care skills and said, wait, I'm going to have to see someone naked, or, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to touch people's skin. And I say, yes, yes, you are. You're going to be doing a lot of things that are of a very personal nature. And you'll find that the patients or your residents, especially in long-term care, they're kind of used to it. And so they're not really very shy any longer. And it does take some time to kind of get used to doing that type of task for other people. And that's okay. That's why we're here in class. Hygiene and grooming. Of course, hygiene would be the bathing and the brushing teeth and the washing the feet and washing the the genital or the perineal area. Grooming would be combing the hair, maybe helping them with a little bit of makeup, things like that, getting them dressed. And we should have already discussed in our orientation period that you guys are going to have an abbreviation test near the end of the semester. And it is a great idea to go ahead and start getting ready for that test today. That's going to be your only test that is not multiple choice, and it can be kind of daunting to think I'm going to have to just write, I'm just going to have to come up with this information out of my own noggin. But you are. Probably one of the most common abbreviations that you'll see in healthcare is ADLs. ADLs are activities of daily living, and that's probably the most common thing that we're going to be doing for our patients, is assisting them with hygiene and grooming, dressing, eating, transferring, that's just moving from one place to another, and toileting. I would say that most of the daily work of a nurse aide is taking care of people's ADL needs, activities of daily living. Okay, providing personal care. Now, as much as we want to try to be a help to our residents, we need to understand that doing everything for them is not what's best for them. What's best for them is for them to maintain as much independence as possible. And so we encourage them to do as much care for themselves as possible. Sometimes we could set things up for them, like in this picture that she's getting ready to brush her teeth. We could have a cup of water, her toothbrush, her toothpaste, something for her to spit in. We could have that all ready and out in front of our patient, and they could brush their own teeth. There's no need for us to do it for them if they're physically and mentally capable of doing that. When we take over their care of things that they can do for themselves, it's taking away their independence. It is really causing a kind of a depression in their self-esteem, and it debilitates them. It actually makes more work for us. It makes us have to do more in the long run. And I would agree that in the short term, it is faster and more efficient to just do things for people. Do it, get it over with. But in healthcare, that's not the best way to do it. We do want to be professional. We want to make sure they have privacy. And while we are providing personal care, we want to make sure that we look at their skin, make sure, we don't see any redness, breakdown, that we want to look at their mobility, how they're moving around, their comfort, are they in any pain, are they showing any signs of discomfort, and also we want to look at their cognition. Cognition is, are they alert, are they oriented, are they able to answer questions, are they able to follow directions, things like that. And just very slight changes in somebody's cognition or their ability to focus and understand could mean that something very significant is happening with them. So it is important that we pay very close attention. Interpersonal skills. These are very important. These are essential skills used when working with residents and staff members. Interpersonal skills are also called people skills. They're determined by many factors. In a healthcare setting, this refers to the ability to get along with others while getting the job done. Okay, so first let's talk a little bit about your people skills. Not everybody feels comfortable carrying on a conversation with people who are essentially strangers. And when you first meet your residents, they're going to be strangers to you, and you're going to be a stranger to them. But the more you work with them, the more you will kind of get to know them on a personal level, which is great. But how do we get to that point? Okay, how do we know what to say and how to talk to somebody? And it's hard to get the conversation started. So we will be talking more about communication in some later lectures and videos. And so I'll save most of that for then. But I will point out that even if you don't feel comfortable talking to people and interacting, especially with people that maybe make you feel a little bit, I don't know how to put it. They make you feel nervous, let's say. There are ways of showing a confident professional demeanor that kind of helps you with communication. The point determined by many factors. I find more and more as I talk to students that they tell me that the way that they grew up maybe did not facilitate a healthy encouragement to communicate. More and more, even when I'm out in public, I see parents belittling their children, yelling at them, cursing at them, ignoring them. That does not equal a good environment for someone to grow up and know how to communicate with other people very well. So that's something that we'll do in class. You're here to learn and how to communicate effectively with your residents and also the people you work with. That's something I'm here to teach you. So you may feel like, hey, I don't want people watching me do my skills, or, I'm nervous about family members being in the room. We will work through that. Okay, so I'd like to know what you think about this. Why are interpersonal skills important for nurse aides? And I'll try to go back after I video just the lecture and see if I can drop in maybe like a little chat box or something where you can share with me why you think those interpersonal skills are so important. I have my own opinions. I've been a family member of a patient being taken care of in a hospital and long-term care facility. I have been the patient myself in a hospital. And of course, I've been the caregiver. And I've kind of had the opportunity to watch other healthcare providers I've worked with and how they interact with people. And I've seen a lot of things I don't like and I don't want to do myself. And I really do not want to see you guys do either. Imagine that you wake up in the morning and instead of being in your home, in your bed, you wake up in a strange environment, in a hospital bed. You don't know how you got there, and there's nobody in the room with you. Okay, I'd be very nervous. The first person who walks in, you really hope that they have good communication skills because you're going to have a lot of questions for them. You're going to say, where am I? How did I get here? Why am I here? How long do I have to stay? And you're hoping, number one, that they have compassion, right? That they take time to answer your questions, that they don't act like they're rushed, that they act like they really are there for your best interest and to help you. You don't want someone who just rushes in the room, doesn't say hello, doesn't tell you who they are, and just never makes eye contact, and just rushes in, gives you some directions like you need to put on this hospital gown, or get in this wheelchair, I'm taking down an x-ray, with no explanation. So interpersonal skills are very, very important. It's very hard to gain someone's trust when you don't, number one, act like you're there for them. Even if it's not the words that you use that are negative, it could be not making eye contact. It could be eye rolls, huffing. It could be crossing your arms over your chest. It could be acting like you're in a hurry, that you're busy, ignoring them. it could be a lot of different things. So take it from somebody who knows. The person who comes in, especially that first interaction in healthcare, it's very important that that person understands that their patient's probably pretty nervous or maybe very scared about what's going on. So when caring for residents, we want to empathize. 3 words that you definitely want to know the meaning of is empathy, sympathy, and apathy. Apathy means no emotion or no feeling. Okay, you never want to be apathetic or have apathy for the situation or person. Anytime that you have a medical word and it starts with A, like apathy, it very well could mean none or lack of than the root word. So apathy means no emotion. Sympathy means that you feel sorry for someone. And yes, I'm aware that when somebody dies or something bad happens to somebody, we run to the store and we get a sympathy card. But sympathy is not necessarily the best way to handle a situation, especially when you're a caregiver. Sympathy is emotionally heavy. It is saying to them, oh, you poor thing, you're so pitiful, you're in terrible shape, I feel so sorry for you. That's not necessarily what the patient needs. What they need is empathy. Empathy means I try to put myself in their position, see things from their viewpoint, so I can understand the situation better. So instead of feeling sorry for them, I try to see where they're coming from so I can relate to the emotions that they're having. Anticipate their needs, treat them as a unique individual, display patience and tolerance, and be sensitive to moods and reactions. I have some friends that when I'm in a bad mood, they just say, you're in a bad mood, I'm not going to worry with you today. Well, that's not very helpful when I'm having a bad mood, or I'm having a bad day, or I'm in a bad mood. But there's other people who they see, maybe I'm not smiling today, maybe, I look worried or I look stressed, and they try to lighten maybe the conversation, and they'll say, I see you look like you're having a hard day. If there's anything I can do, let me know. But it's okay. We all have bad days. I had an instructor recently that she got really mixed up in where she needed to be, and she didn't show up to clinical when she was supposed to. And instead of just being angry and shaking my finger at her and saying, you should know better. You should, how crazy is it that you didn't show up and you knew, you're going to have to do better or you're going to get fired. Instead of doing that, I told her, it's understandable. I mean, we all get mixed up. We all make mistakes. We forget things. And she really appreciated that. And I don't think I realized quite how much she did appreciate it until kind of later on. But I reminded her, I make mistakes and I forget things. And I really like it when people are patient with me. So I try to remember that with my patients as well. Okay, relationships in healthcare. Be respectful to family and residents. Maintain professional relationships with other team members, including other nurse aides, nurses, therapists, social workers, doctors, etc. I did mention that you guys are part of a healthcare team, and you do want to be very respectful and understanding of the people on your healthcare team. Communicate and work well with other people, and it is called respect. RESPECT. And if you need a gentle reminder of what respect is, you can always listen to the Aretha Franklin version of RESPECT. It's a good song. Okay, so the nurse aide as an employee, some important qualities would be to act, behave, and function in a professional manner, have a good work ethic, and you should also be able to answer this question. What behaviors do a nurse aide who has a good work ethic demonstrate while at work? Some of the behaviors that I would probably put in there would be a smile, a positive attitude, caring, compassion for other people, doing your work efficiently. Like, don't milk the clock. Do what you're supposed to do and do it in a timely manner, and help other people even without being asked. That's probably one of the biggest things for me as a nurse. Was I loved it when I had other staff members who would come by and say, hey, I'm caught up with my work. Is there anything I can help you with? I always try to do the same thing for them. Professional appearance. I don't ever hide the fact that I feel like professional appearance is lacking a lot in healthcare. I see people that show up to work wearing, let's just say, very interesting attire. I think I've been a nurse for almost 30 years, so I really miss the days of ironed uniforms, clean shoes, and these hairdos. What are you girls doing with your hair? Putting knots on top of your head? And weird. And color? Oh my God, your hair color. It's crazy. Even if your facility says it's okay to have purple hair and long fingernails that can be fuchsia or purple or green or whatever, guys, it's not professional. It's just not professional. Follow your facility's dress code. Dress neatly. Wear appropriate shoes. And I love how it always points out, make sure you don't have any patterned underwear under those white pants or other light colored pants. Wears clean undergarments in appropriate color and style. I love telling this story, and you'll find this is one of many, many stories I'm going to tell you. But several years ago, I had a student in clinical, and that was back when we were wearing white tops, white pants. We don't wear white anymore. Currently, we're wearing light gray pants and seal, C-E-I-L, seal blue scrub tops. But that was back when we were wearing white. And he came into clinical, and I had done my, my introduction into clinical, and we were getting ready to go out on the floor. And he was walking out in front of me, and I noticed something odd on the seat of his pants. And the closer I got, the more I thought, that looks like sailboats. So I asked him, I said, we'll call him Kevin. I said, Kevin, do you have navy blue sailboats on your underwear? And he said, how'd you know that, Miss Houck? And I said, because I can see your sailboats. So I took off my jacket and I had him tied around his waist and told him he needed to go get some white underwear and wear under his pants. Of course, now we wear gray and you can't see through the gray. But I always thought that's always been a fun thing to tell people. It's just fun. Okay. Maintains excellent personal hygiene. Neat nails, simple hairstyle, good personal hygiene. That means bathing regularly, wearing deodorant, brushing your teeth, mouthwash, being clean. Now, something you do not want to do is you do not want to smell of heavy perfumed lotions or body sprays or any perfumes or anything, colognes for you guys, because it can make your residents nauseous. It can give them a headache. I'm one of those people that's very sensitive to smells, and so I don't do well with loud smelling stuff, lotions and stuff. And I'll tell you, if you walk into class on a skills day and I say, what is that really easy to smell odor. And I'll say, could we not wear that? That makes Miss Houck sick. Okay. Oh, this is important. It takes 15 seconds to make a first impression. And I do always try to make a good first impression with my students, whether I did orientation with you in person or here on the computer. I hope that my welcome message and my orientation, if it went well, I always like to try to make a good first impression. Your first impression won't sink you, though. If it's a bad first impression, yes, it affects the relationship, but there have been people that I had a very bad first impression of, but the more I got to know them, the more I realized that first impression just wasn't really accurate. But just be careful. That first impression can make a lasting memory. All right. So the nurse aide should be patient, understanding, honest and trustworthy, conscientious, always trying to do their best, enthusiastic, enjoying the job, courteous, considerate, respectful, and cheerful. Now, do we always feel this naturally every day? Of course we don't. Everybody has ups and downs. I do try to be as upbeat and positive and cheerful as I can be, both here on the computer, where it is easy to be happy, because I can stop it anytime I want to, and have a meltdown, and then come back. But in class, I try to do the same thing, and it is important. It goes, that positive attitude goes a long, long way. When I was in nursing school, there was a saying that they told us almost right from the very beginning, and that was that we were going to be learning a lot of new things, an overwhelming amount, actually, when you go into nursing school. But what they said to us, a little phrase that's always stuck with me, is that your patients do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I've patterned my last 29 years of my nursing career after that. It's true. Yes, your patients want you to be knowledgeable, but what they want the most is somebody who really cares about them and cares about their well-being. So a nurse aide should be dependable, responsible, accountable, tolerant, self-aware, and dedicated to providing quality of care. Not a lot, but we do have a subset, a group of people that enter into healthcare because, one, it seems to be a stable employment opportunity. There's plenty of jobs. And two, they feel like that they're going to make a lot of money. Now, I wouldn't fault you for wanting to go into a career where there was job stability. That's a good idea. But if going into healthcare, you're thinking about all the money you're going to make, you probably should withdraw from the class today. Because no matter how much money you make in healthcare, it's never going to be worth the stress that you're going to go through being a healthcare worker. And if your heart's not in it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your benefits are. It doesn't matter what your pay scale is. You're going to be miserable, and everybody around you will be too. So you've been forewarned. If you're in this because you think, oh, I'm going to make so much money, you might want to think about that again. Okay. So the mission and vision of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and the Nurse Aide 1 is that we, in collaboration with our partners, provide essential services to improve the health, safety, and well-being of all North Carolinians. The vision of NCDHHS, that is the governing body that we as nurse aides are under, is that we advance innovative solutions that foster independence, improve health, and promote well-being for all North Carolinians. The role of the nurse aide in healthcare is to improve the health and promote the safety and well-being of the individuals in their care. So we want to carry the mission and vision of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services with you as you strive to be the best nurse aide you can be, because the citizens of North Carolina are depending on you. So the role that you will hold as an employee, you want to understand the requirements and maintain current registry listing. Know what you're legally allowed to do. That should be very simple, self-explanatory. It's what you are taught here in class, coupled with, in addition to, the tasks that your facility specifically teaches you to do. Okay? Have concern for others and make those lives happier and more meaningful. And it does not hurt to look professional and nice while you're doing it. Your work day, you should show up for work when you're supposed to be there. Use sick time for sick time. Give an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. That means do not sit on your phone while you're supposed to be working, taking care of other people. Okay? I'm not a big fan of cell phones. I did not grow up in the era of everybody has a cell phone. Now that I'm an adult, yes, I have a cell phone, and I mostly have it because I have to have it. And yes, I was told I had to have a cell phone on me in order to do this job. But I think cell phones have really put a negative note on our society, and my feeling is when you go into work, your cell phone should disappear for however long you're at work, and you should not be checking your phone. You should not be looking at Facebook or whatever you guys look at nowadays. People say, Facebook is for old people. Well, that's me, the old lady. You shouldn't be on the internet. Okay, you shouldn't be texting, etc. You get the drift. So while you're in class, you're also going to follow that. There will be no cell phone usage in class. Period. Okay, if I see your cell phone, I'm going to take it away from you, like a mommy would. And I don't want to be your mommy. I want to be your teacher. So it is in the policy that you are not to use your cell phone in class. Show respect to your supervisor, and this does not say show respect to the supervisors that you like. It says show respect to your supervisors, and I've had supervisors I did not care for, but that does not mean I did not treat them with respect. Perform your delegated tasks, the things that are on your list of things to do. Being a nurse aide, you should be gentle and kind. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. That's empathy. Be pleasant, respectful of others and their possessions. Always try to do your best, and do not be afraid to ask for help. One thing that my mother told me over and over and over as I was struggling through nursing school and growing up is that, Wendy, you can only do your best. If you do your best, then I'm proud of you. I know that if you did your best, that it's going to be okay. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. Some days you're going to fall short. You're not going to make what you want on that test, or you're just going to make an outright mistake. That's because we're human. Okay? So being here in class means you already should not know what to do. And so I'm here to teach you. And so are your other instructors. And so hopefully we will be patient and kind to you. And be patient, kind to each other as well, please. Treat others with dignity. Be a team player. Be careful and alert. Be eager and excited to go to work. And yes, I know, nobody's excited and eager to go to work. Well, I am. I actually look forward to coming to work and being with you guys. I don't look as forward to recording these videos online, but yeah, we got to do what we got to do as we move along with the times. But I really do enjoy coming to work and spending time with the students and my coworkers. No gossiping or talking about other people. That's pretty much for all of life. Refraining from gossip. If somebody should say, I really need to talk to you about something, you shouldn't get all scared thinking, oh no, what did they hear that I said or that I did? Okay? Be above reproach. Be above suspicion with what you say. Speak honestly but with kindness. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. And use the power of your word in the direction of truth and caring. So the words that you use, you should select them carefully. Only talk about what you know about. You're going to learn all kinds of wonderful things in this class. You're going to learn all kinds of terms and just new ideas and ways of doing things and hands-on tasks. But one thing you don't ever want to do is get arrogant with your knowledge, because there's always going to be another person that's going to say, that's not right, or I don't do things that way, or, just tell you you're wrong and put you in your place. You don't want that. Never lie, cheat, or steal. Always seek the good in others. That will take you far in life if you do that. Take pride in your work. Praise others. And keep your language clean. No cursing or telling offensive jokes. If you've heard anything at all about me or this particular class here at Western Piedmont, you will probably have heard that I do not like nor do I tolerate any type of discriminatory talk against other people, making fun of people, bullying, and your language needs to be squeaky clean. One of my least favorite words is the F word. So I'm going to be more than highly offended if I hear that slip from betwixt your lips. Just talk professionally, but no trash talk. Listen to your conscience. If you are not sure what you're about to do is right, don't do it. This is your conscience talking. Okay, and we've all been there where maybe it was something we wanted to do, somewhere we wanted to go, and we heard that little, you better not go, you better not do that, that's not going to be a good idea. Mom said not to go, Dad said not to go, Wendy Houck said don't do that. That's going to be playing in the back of your head before long. It's a good idea to listen to your conscience. Okay, and so this goes along with the worksheet that will be attached to this particular day's lecture. The definition of a team is a group of people with a common purpose, assigned tasks, and a coordinated effort to get a job done. Whether we like it or not, we have to work with other people in order to meet the goals of taking care of our patient. We don't always like everybody that's on our team, and sometimes we can change that, but most of the time we can't. The key to being part of a good, effective team is listening to each other, compromising when you can, and keeping an open mind. Okay. A group of people with a common purpose, assigned tasks, and a coordinated effort to get the job done. So, what would be some qualities of an effective team? Some qualities of an effective team would be things like, again, compromise, liking working together, not one person not taking on the role as like the boss. Everybody has equal input. We listen to other people's opinions. We value people's opinions. We ask for other people's thoughts and opinions. The climate should be relaxed. People should like being with that team. It might be something mundane that you're meeting about, but actually being together with the team should be a positive experience. So when we have instances where, oops, went too far. Sorry about that. So when we have an ineffective team, we have everybody thinks that they are the boss. Everybody is trying to get their point across. They don't want to compromise. They don't want to listen to other people's viewpoints. It's their way or the highway. Okay, we don't like being with these people. It's stressful, it's tense, and nothing gets accomplished. Back up here where you have an effective team, because those participants are working together, they are very likely to meet the goal of the team, which is generally good care of the health of the resident or the patient. Down here where we have the ineffective team, nobody wants to be a part of this. Okay? Some people will bow out of the team. Some people will quit. Maybe quit their jobs. Some people are going to march to human resources and complain, or their boss and complain. But this team is not going to get anything done. Nothing productive. So we need to have a strong group commitment. With a strong group commitment, the members feel a strong sense of belonging. They like being with each other. They'll ask each other for advice. If you have never experienced someone asking your opinion or asking you for advice, it feels good. I like it. I like my opinion to be valued. For a long time, I never expected anyone to value my opinion because I had issues with that for several years. But teaching has really helped my self-esteem. Okay, you students have done a wonderful job making me feel valued and important. Seek and provide support in times of difficulty, valuing each other's contributions. They're motivated. They want to do a good job. They share their feelings openly in the group, which is also very important. They believe that the goals of the group are important and achievable. If the members of the group do not feel that the goal of the group is important and achievable, they will never meet that goal. It's not going to happen. And then down here is the Go Team worksheet. Okay, you do not have to turn in that worksheet to me. It's just a tool for you to understand about what makes a good team a good team. I'm not going to quiz you. Somewhere in today's lecture, I will put a couple of questions for you, so I know that you've gotten what you need to from the lecture for Module A. And we are now on the last slide, the end. I love finishing up every lecture with just a thought for that lecture, just to kind of sum everything up. And if I were going to sum up the lecture on Module A, it would be, here is your introduction to healthcare. This is what you're going to be doing as a Nurse Aide 1. These are the type of tasks you're going to be doing, but most importantly, this is how you're going to be interacting with other people. And this is the kind of inherent traits that you need to be a good Nurse Aide 1, and then maybe for some of you eventually nurses, or even further than that in your healthcare career. If there's ever any questions about any of the modules, you can email me at whouk@wpcc.edu, and I do try to get back with you as soon as I can. Just depends on how many questions I get per module on how fast I can get back to you. Next module will be up next. I think we're doing Module M next. And let me also introduce you to where you could find these on the internet. You will go to ncnar.org, And then there'll be like a drop down. If you're Googling it, you will click Verify License. And then when you get to the DHHSR website, you'll click Education at the top left of the screen. And then you'll click Nurse Aid 1, Curriculum 2024. And then that'll bring you up all your modules. And then you just click on the module letter, and this PowerPoint will pop up. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me.